By the time he moved into Doughty Street at the end of March in 1837, the Pickwick Papers was well underway. I mean, it was 2/3 of the way through, and it was a roaring, blazing, huge success. Dickens was racing to keep up with himself, and nonetheless, only 2 months before moving in, he'd started a new novel. That was Oliver Twist, and he was writing the two of them side by side. Huge pressure that he must have been under. The weekly instalments was a terrific challenge, but he rose to it with all his youthful and glorious exuberance, I mean, in both novels. But the Pickwick Papers, of course, is particularly fond of mad, joyous, crazy, farcical fun. And here's a very typical example of that when Mr. Pickwick goes to visit his young friend, the medical student, Mr. Bob Sawyer. "Does Mr. Sawyer live here?" inquired Mr. Pickwick when the door was opened.
"Yes," said the girl. "First floor. It's the door straight after you when you get to the top of the stairs."
Having given this instruction, the handmaid, who had been brought up among the aboriginal inhabitants of Southwark, disappeared with the candle in her hand down the kitchen stairs, perfectly satisfied that she had done everything that could possibly be required of her under the circumstances. Mr. Snodgrass, who entered last, secured the street door, after several ineffectual efforts, by putting up the chains, and the friends stumbled upstairs, where they were received by Mr. Bob Sawyer, who had been afraid to go down lest he should be waylaid by Mrs. Rattle. "How are you?" said the discomfited student. "Glad to see you. Take care of the glasses." This caution was addressed to Mr. Pickwick, who had put his hat in the tray. "Oh, dear me," said Mr. Pickwick. I beg your pardon." Don't mention it," said Bob Sawyer. "I'm rather confined for room here, but you must put up with all that when you come to see a young bachelor. Walk in. You've seen this gentleman before, I think." Mr. Pickwick shook hands with Mr. Benjamin Allen, and his friends followed his example. They had scarcely taken their seats when there was another double knock. "I hope that's Jack Hopkins," said Bob Sawyer. "Hush." "Yes, it is." "Come up, Jack, come up." The heavy footstep was heard upon the stairs, and Jack Hopkins presented himself. He wore a black velvet waistcoat with thunder and lightning buttons, and a blue striped shirt with a white false collar. "You're late, Jack," said Mr. Benjamin Allen. "Yeah, I've been detained at Bartholomew's," replied Hopkins. "Anything new?" "No, nothing particular. Rather a good accident brought into the casualty ward." What was that, sir?" inquired Mr. Pickwick. "Only a man fallen out of a 4-pair of stairs window, but it's a very fair case indeed." Do you mean that the patient is in a fair way to recover?" inquired Mr. Pickwick. "No," replied Hopkins scarcely. "No, I should rather say he wouldn't. There must be a splendid operation, though, tomorrow. Magnificent sight if Slasher does it." "You consider Mr. Slasher a good operator?" said Mr. Pickwick. "Best alive," replied Hopkins. "Took a boy's leg out of the socket last week. Boy ate 5 apples and a gingerbread cake. Exactly 2 minutes after it was all over, boy said he wouldn't lie there to be made game of, and he'd tell his mother if they didn't begin." Dear me," said Mr. Pickwick, astonished. "That's nothing, that ain't," said Jack Hopkins. "Is it, Bob?" "No, nothing at all," replied Bob Sawyer. "By the by, Bob," said Hopkins, with a scarcely perceptible glance at Mr. Pickwick's attentive face, "we had a curious accident last night. A child was brought in who had swallowed a necklace." "Swallowed a what, sir?" interrupted Mr. Pickwick. "A necklace," replied Jack Hopkins. "Not all at once, you know, that would be too much. You couldn't swallow that if the child did. Hey, Mr. Pickwick, Mr. Hopkins appeared highly gratified with his own pleasantry and continued, "No, the way was this. Child's parents were poor people who lived in a court. Child's eldest sister bought a necklace, common necklace, made of large black wooden beads. Child, being fond of toys, cribbed the necklace, hid it, played with it, cut the string, and swallowed a bead. Child thought it capital fun, went back next day and swallowed another bead. Bless my heart, said Mr. Pickwick, what a dreadful thing. I beg your pardon, sir. Go on. Next day, child swallowed 2 beads. Day after that, he treated himself to 3, and so on, till in a week's time he'd got through the necklace. 25 beads in all. The sister, who was an industrious girl and seldom treated herself to a bit of finery, cried her eyes out at the loss of her necklace. Looked high and low for it, but I needn't say it, didn't find it. A few days afterwards, the family were at dinner. Baked shoulder of mutton and potatoes under it. The child, who wasn't hungry, was playing about the room when suddenly there was heard a devil of a noise, like a small hailstorm. Don't do that, my boy, said the father. I ain't a-doing nothing, said the child. Well, don't do it again, said the father. There was a short silence, and then the noise began again, worse than ever. If you don't mind what I say, my boy, said the father, you'll find yourself in bed in something less than a pig's whisper. He gave the child a shake to make him obedient, and such a rattling ensued as nobody ever heard before. Why, damn it, it's in the child, said the father. He's got the croup in the wrong place. No, I haven't, father, said the child, beginning to cry. It's the necklace. I swallowed it, father. The father caught the child up and ran with him to the hospital. The beads in the boy's stomach rattling all the way with the jolting, and the people looking up in the air and down in the cellars to see where the unusual sound came from. He's in the hospital now, said Jack Hopkins, and he makes such a devil of a noise when he walks about that they're obliged to muffle him in a watchman's coat for fear he should wake the patients. Ha 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 ha! That's the most extraordinary case I ever heard of, said Mr. Pickwick, with an emphatic blow on the table. Oh, that's nothing, is it, Bob? Certainly not, replied Mr. Bob Sawyer. Very singular things occur in our profession, I can assure you, sir, said Hopkins. So I should be disposed to imagine, replied Mr. Pickwick.